Place to Mend, Chapter 10 of The Raven, Revenge, and the Reckoning. Killian woke in the loft above the widow's wash house. The cedar boards creaked as he stood, pulling on the old clothes she'd given him, her husband's, before the man died. The loft smelled of dust and soap, and through the gaps in the slats, a thin gray light told him dawn was still a ways off. He climbed down the ladder, slipped outside into the crisp morning air, and headed to the barn. Buck nickered softly when he saw him. Killian fed and brushed him down, working quiet. The land was still, cold dew clinging to fence rails. Just as he stepped out from the barn, the wash house door opened. The widow, Mara, stood in the frame, shawl wrapped tight. "I'll have breakfast ready shortly," she said. "If you'd like," Killian offered. "I can feed the remuda too." She pointed to the hay and thanked him. He nodded and got to work. By the time he came back to the house, arms full of split wood, the smell of salt pork and fried potatoes filled the kitchen. She waved him in without a word. Her daughter Lottie came down just as Killian sat. They ate together, quiet at first, but eased into conversation. The girl smiled easily, curious about him. Afterward, Mara asked him to help carry in more wood. He split what was left, then offered to take Lottie for a ride if her mother didn't mind. Lottie looked at her mother. Her mother just nodded. Killian buckled Buck at the stable, tying him to the hitching rail. "You have a curry comb?" "I think so," Lottie said. "I'll go check." She disappeared into the barn and came back holding one. "Got it," Killian smiled. "So, Lottie, you ever handled a horse or helped saddle one?" She shook her head. "No, actually, Pa was going to teach me this summer." "He's getting on. Not a colt anymore. But I've seen horses like him stay healthy till 20, Killian said. Lottie smiled. "That'd give me 8 years." "I reckon so," he said, smiling back. "I'll be 22 by then. That seems old." "Seems rather young to me," she laughed. "How old are you, Killian?" He wiped a hand across his brow. "Hard to believe, but I'm 40. "You're old," she teased. "You think so, huh? Well, we'll see how you like Buck. And then maybe we can talk about a trade, if your mother agrees." He took the curry comb from her and started brushing Buck's coat. "It's been a while since he's had a good brushing," he said wryly. He handed it back to her and showed her how to brush until every bit of dirt was gone. Killian walked to the barn, grabbed his saddle, and brought it to the rail. He set the blanket carefully on Buck's back, showing Lottie how to smooth it flat and check for lumps. Then he threw the saddle on. "All right, old boy," he said as Buck shook himself out. Killian finished settling the saddle and swung up. He showed Lottie how Buck handled, then trotted him back. "You need help mounting?" "No, I think I can do it." He watched as she stepped up, grabbed the horn with her left, and reached for the stirrup. She fumbled a bit, but got her foot in and swung up. Buck didn't flinch, stood like a war horse. "You ever ride before?" "A little. I've just never saddled one myself." She walked Buck out to the road, turned left, and rode a few hundred yards, then circled back to the corral. "Keep those horses here in the corral?" Killian asked. Lottie nodded. "They've been here since Pa died. 5 months now. But Ma thinks it's time to start working them. We're running low on hay." She brought Buck back around, stopped at the hitch rail. "What do you think?" Killian asked. She smiled as he gave her a hand down. "I really like him. If Mama says it's okay, I'd like to trade." "Well, we'll ask her. Why don't you take me to the corral, and we'll see if any of those broncs are worth putting a saddle on." She led him over. A dozen 4-year-olds milled around the corral, eating. "Well," Killian said, pointing, "that Grula gelding looks good." "That one was Pa's favorite," she said. "Said he didn't find any with those markings." "And he's right," Killian replied. "And that iron gray mare over there, short-barreled, thick-necked, all muscle." She followed his gaze. "That one looks strong. Built different than the gelding. Gelding's lean, made for long miles. But that mare, she's got power. Might be a sprinter." As they walked back toward the house, Killian asked, "Where's your wrangler now? You said he saddled some of these?" "He's out with the wagon," Lottie said. "But last fall, I watched him ride every day." "Did you learn anything watching?" She looked up at him. "You really want to know?" "I do. You seem like a smart girl." She gave a soft shrug. "Honestly, that iron gray mare's my favorite. She bucked him off every time he saddled her, but he said she'd turn out." "Any of them been handled before that?" "Not much. Pa kept them out in the Box Canyon till they turned 4. We throw hay to them in winter, so they're not as wild as some. But still," she trailed off, then added, "he used to work for the J.A. Ranch in Texas when he was younger. Said their 4-year-olds were worse than these." Killian nodded. They headed back inside. Mara met them at the door. There's work here, she said. No one's been on those horses since he passed. If you're willing, I am, Killian said. She offered pay. He declined. By afternoon, he was back at the corral, saddling the first. 12 horses, 12 chances to start again. That afternoon, Killian stepped up to the rail and nodded toward the Grulla gelding. I think I'll try him first. He picked up his lariat, spun out a loop, a couple of overhand flicks of the wrist, and opened it up. Then he approached the horse, dragging the loop low. The Grulla stood stiff at the far end of the pen. Killian spun the rope low and let it whisper through the air. It dropped soft and true around the gelding's neck. The horse blew and bolted, hitting the end hard, but Killian was already moving, dallying to the center post. The rope went tight, and the gelding fought it, throwing his head, lunging back and forth in the dust. Killian didn't rush. He just held steady, letting rope run out, pulling it back in slow, steady, patient until the colt wore himself down. When the fight turned to breath, he stepped in and slid the halter on. All right, he said, voice low, hand firm on the rope. Let's get to know each other. He led the Grulla into the smaller pen and saddled him slow, jittery, but didn't blow up again. Killian cinched him tight, gave him a moment, then swung up smooth. The gelding stiffened, crow-hopped a few times, then moved off at a trot. Killian worked him in circles, changed directions, gave him space to think. It didn't take long. When they came back through the gate, Killian was grinning. He's got sense, he said to Lottie. He didn't dismount. He just looked toward the white mare in the far pen. I want her out of the way. Lottie's eyes widened. She's wild, I know. They haltered her with effort, blindfolded her just to lay the blanket. She trembled the whole time, breathing heavy through her nostrils. The moment Killian laid a hand on her shoulder, she squealed. Getting the saddle on was a fight. She reared, plunged, struck out, nearly broke loose. But they got it done. Killian mounted with the blindfold still on her. Pull that blind off her eyes, Lottie. She reached out, lips pressed together, and pulled it off slowly, then ran back to the fence. The white mare stayed frozen, not moving a muscle. Killian didn't move either. I've seen this game before, he said. It's like one of them staring matches, where whoever moves first loses. You watch. She's gonna blow. He waited, then put a little pressure on the right rein to pull her head around. She stutter-stepped, and then blew. Killian's head snapped back, and he grabbed leather, but it was too late. Next jump, he went headfirst into the water trough. He scrambled up, water pouring off him in sheets, tried to climb out, and tripped. He hit the dirt hard, rolled, got up laughing. Dust streaked across his face. All right, girl. The second time he mounted her, same result. But the third time must have been the charm. He found his rhythm. She bucked in a straight line to the corral fence, then started circling left. By the third lap, she began to slow. A few more hops, and then she just settled into a lope. Spooked a little, but it didn't last. By the time he brought her back around, lathered and blowing, Lottie was laughing on the fence rail. Killian swung down, grinning sheepishly. Well, that she-devil gave me a run for my money. He got the saddle off easily enough, hung it on the rail. They went inside. Mara met him in the doorway, arms crossed. I saw you taking a swim in the water trough, she said with a smile. Killian wiped his face. I'm a little rusty. Yeah, you looked it, she said, handing him a damp cloth. She smiled, winked. Killian laughed. They sat down to eat. 2 pork chops each, mashed potatoes with gravy, and fresh green beans out of the garden. Sunlight poured through the window, warm and quiet. Killian leaned back after the second bite, slower than before. His ribs ached. His shoulder throbbed. But for the first time in a long while, he wasn't thinking about where he'd go next. He just felt still, and for a brief moment, he thought, I wish I could stay here. But he knew he'd be riding on